In 2 months, the OFC Pro League will bring professional sports to Oceania and the Pacific Islands in a way never before seen. Multiple professional football teams based on the islands that make up the Footballing Confederation, that is OFC, and a previous champion of Oceania from Australia will come together on January 17th at Eden Park to kick off what will be a historic moment in OFC and Pacific footballing history as they bring football to the Pacific Islands. There will be 8 teams from 7 countries taking part. Most of these clubs have been started with the specific task of representing their nation. A-League premiers Auckland FC and South Island United will represent New Zealand. 1999 champions of Oceania, South Melbourne will represent Australia. Bulla FC will represent Fiji. French territory Tahiti will be represented by Tahiti United. The Solomon Islands will be represented by Solomon Kings FC. 2010 champions of Oceania, PNG Hikari will represent Papua New Guinea, while Vanuatu United will represent one of the hosts of the 2024 OFC Nations Cup, Vanuatu. Now that we've covered teams, we can move on to the format. This is a format that is undoubtedly unfamiliar to football fans at the professional level, with every team playing twice. However, it will not be home and away, as is custom of most footballing leagues. Instead, 5 circuit series will be played in 5 different nations, with the first round kicking off January 17th at Eden Park in Auckland, between Auckland FC and South Island United. They'll then move on to Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea, Melbourne, Australia, Honiara in the Solomon Islands, Suva and Lautoka in Fiji will both host, and before returning for the semi-finals and final at Eden Park in Auckland. Christchurch was unavailable as there was no facilities capable of hosting double headers until Te Kaha opens due to number of dressing rooms. Once the double round robin has been completed, the teams will split into 2 groups, the leaders group and the challengers group. The teams in each group will play each other once, and whoever is bottom of the leaders group and top of the challengers group will play a one-off match for the last spot in the OFC Pro League semi-finals. Once the 4th versus 5th playoff has concluded, we come to a stock standard one-off semi-final and final at Eden Park to close out the competition. The reason why this league is such a big deal for these island nations is that it will hopefully help football move towards the front of the pack when it comes to interest among young players, as opposed to sports such as rugby union and rugby league, which are traditional strongholds within this region. These clubs will open up clear pathways for the next generation of players. The next Rafael Liai, Roy Krishna and Brian Kaltak will now get the opportunity to represent these clubs at a professional level and train in a professional environment, rather than toiling away in the islands for a few years, eventually getting a crack in the New Zealand National League before bouncing around MPL to maybe get an A-League contract. Now they will be able to just step straight into these teams and, be able to show their stuff at a higher level earlier on in their careers, which should hopefully help move a few more players off into Asia and Europe a bit quicker, hopefully. Another big factor that I think will play into this is to do with the national teams. A lot of these island teams have selected the national team head coaches to coach said clubs, so that there will hopefully be some more synergy between club and country, as some of these coaches talked about it in the soft launch, that they would get these players for 2 weeks at a time, and a lot of these players were semi-pro to amateur at best. So giving these coaches the ability to sit down with these teams for 6 months will really hopefully push these clubs along, and well, not just these clubs, the countries as well, and hopefully they can develop alongside this league. Moving on, we'll talk about the squad structure. These teams will not be full-blown national teams, as they will be allowed 3 foreign players from OFC nations and 3 foreign players from outside of OFC. Pictured, you have PNG Hikari's non-OFC foreign players. They brought in 3 Brazilians, Kawe Silva, Rafael Chaves, and Eric Joe. Another great example that sort of really shows the full breadth of it is Vanuatu United. They have brought in Owen Smith and Otto Louis Ingham from the New Zealand National League, and Papua New Guinea right back Raymond Deho as their 3 OFC foreign players. They have also brought in A-League veteran Matthew Acton, who has experience at clubs such as Melbourne Victory and Brisbane Roar. They brought in Australian centre-back Hassan Ramazani from the Queensland Lions, and brought in William Cardona from the American college system, a 23-year-old defensive midfielder. So it'll be very interesting to see where he goes with that in the for them. And that generally just gives a general vibe of like what exactly to expect in terms of the level of players they will sign. New Zealand National League players, you would imagine, are going to be worth their weight in gold for these teams. They can get a few real handy players from that sort of level. I think it could do them a lot of good. Moving on is the new New Zealand Pro Club, the 3rd of its kind. Picked over the Wellington Phoenix, controversially so. I pulled up a quote from Stuff News from the Christchurch United General Manager Ryan Edwards. We are committed to first consider Southern League players for the OFC Pro League and will shortly organise trials to see which players are interested and who might be able to step up to professional football. So they'll ideally be pulling as many players from the Southern League as possible. I've heard rumours of them approaching a few players outside of the Northern and Central Leagues. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Any new recruit would return to their home club once the inaugural Pro League season finishes at the end of May to play the remainder of the Southern League with their home club. So it was from an article from Stuff News. And yeah, it pretty much does what it says on the tin. They will likely use a few OFC foreign spots as well. And a few, I believe they've eyed up a few foreign players as well in the non-OFC section. So it'll be very interesting to see how that squad pans out. The balance of Southern League versus Central and Northern League players, etc. The next one was a bit of a question mark over how they were going to set up for a while, as early on the original structure was that they would leave the first team to play A-League football. They would have the under-23 and under-23s team go and play OFC Pro League with the ability to call on 3 senior players and then send an under-20s team to the National League. But that seems to have changed, whether that's due to how other teams have approached the market or how they have structured the foreign player spots or whatnot, whether that plays a part. The structure has changed. So now it seems likely that scholars and the scholarship players such as Finn McKinlay and Jonty Bidwa will fill out that OFC Pro League team with a few New Zealand National League players and Kiwis based in the NPL, possibly players like Ryan Foyts, George Ott. And then the National League squad will be made up of just any players that didn't quite make the cut. So you'll likely see your Nathan Martins, your Benny Baldonis, those types of players kicking on and continuing playing National League football. And moving on to sort of one of the more controversial additions, South Melbourne. They are technically an AFC club, but have deep roots within Oceania. They were champions in 1999. And yeah, however, they will not be eligible to qualify for the FIFA Club World Cup or the annual FIFA Intercontinental Cup due to them being based within AFC. So that is 100% line drawn. They knew this coming into it. I think I understand why they brought them in. I wouldn't be opposed to switching them out for the Phoenix, but it is what it is. Yeah. So that pretty much wraps everything up, I feel. There'll be more OFC Pro League updates to come, fixtures and dates and to be announced, more signings, final squads. You should be able to find most of the clubs on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can follow the league itself for any updates. I also highly recommend following myself, Young Heart, on Twitter, and Andrew Vorman. I'll leave them in the description, those links. And I am considering doing another preview video or possibly a live stream the night before the competition starts, and once all the squads etc have been finalised. I'll be streaming Auckland FC away games as well when they're away in Australia, so feel free to drop in during that and have a yarn. And other than that, I'll wrap it up.